Helena Morgan stared at the yellow blooms bursting from the ceramic vase, their bright petals a stark contrast against her modern kitchen's sleek marble surfaces. The flowers reminded her of sunshine, of hope, things that felt increasingly distant in her life lately. She ran her finger absently over the rim of her coffee cup, trying to ignore the persistent feeling of emptiness in the spacious apartment that had once felt like a sanctuary, but now seemed to echo with silence whenever Robert was away. The phone call from her husband earlier that morning had been predictably brief. Tokyo meetings running long. Won't be back until next Thursday. No, I miss you. No questions about their 16-year-old son, Tyler. Just information delivered in that clipped, efficient tone Robert had perfected over 20 years in corporate finance. Helena sighed, wondering when exactly their marriage had transformed into this hollow shell of logistics and schedules. As a psychologist specializing in sleep disorders, Helena knew better than most how the subconscious mind processed emotional distress. Yet she struggled to apply that knowledge to her own situation. The recurring dreams that had plagued her for months now. Always the same sequence. A silver car plunging off a bridge into dark, churning waters. The desperate struggle of someone inside, pounding against windows that wouldn't break. And most disturbing of all, the license plate she could somehow read with perfect clarity, even through the murky water. JRX 486. Mom? Earth to Mom? Tyler's voice broke through her reverie. Her son stood in the doorway, backpack slung over one shoulder, his lanky frame seeming to have grown another inch overnight. At 16, he was nearly a man, with Robert's strong jawline but Helena's sensitive eyes. Sorry, honey, just lost in thought. She forced a smile. Your father called. He'll be gone until next Thursday. Tyler's expression darkened momentarily. Big surprise there, he muttered. That's what? The third extended trip this month? Helena felt a twinge of guilt. She'd been so caught up in her own disappointment that she hadn't fully registered how Robert's absences were affecting their son. He's working hard, Ty. The company's going through some restructuring. Whatever. Tyler shrugged with practiced teenage indifference, but Helena could see the hurt beneath it. I've got debate team after school. Don't wait up. After Tyler left, Helena's attention returned to the vibrant yellow flowers. Samantha had brought them over 3 days ago, one of her friend's routine attempts to brighten the energy of Helena's home. Despite her skepticism toward Samantha's spiritual inclinations, Helena had to admit the flowers did bring some life to the increasingly sterile space. This plant speaks to you, Samantha had insisted, her eyes intense as she placed the vase on the kitchen island. Water lilies thrive in still waters, but send their roots deep into the mud. They remind us that beauty can emerge from darkness. Helena had smiled politely, attributing her friend's mystical explanations to her recent immersion in Eastern philosophy. But now, looking at the blooms, she wondered if there might be some wisdom in Samantha's words after all. The plant didn't look particularly healthy this morning. The stems seemed droopy, despite Helena's careful watering. Frowning, she lifted the vase and noticed water had leaked onto the countertop. Closer examination revealed a hairline crack in the ceramic. With a sigh, Helena decided to repot the flowers before they died completely. Another metaphor for her life she didn't need. In the small utility closet off the kitchen, she found an unused terracotta pot and a bag of potting soil left over from Tyler's short-lived middle school science project. She carried them back to the kitchen counter and gently extracted the plant from its damaged vase. The water that spilled out was murky, almost brackish, reminding her uncomfortably of the dark river in her dreams. As Helena loosened the root ball, her fingers encountered something hard buried in the soil. Puzzled, she carefully dug around it until she could extract the object. It was small, black, and cylindrical, unmistakably a camera lens. Her heart began to race as she turned it over in her palm. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately hidden a camera in the plant. Her first instinct was to call Robert, but something stopped her. Who had access to their apartment? Robert, of course, Tyler, their twice-weekly housekeeper, Maria, and Samantha, who had a spare key for emergencies. A cold feeling settled in Helena's stomach as she considered the implications. Was Samantha spying on her? But why would her friend of 15 years suddenly betray her trust? With trembling hands, Helena examined the device more closely. It wasn't just a camera, but a sophisticated miniature recording device with a tiny memory card. The technology looked expensive, professional grade, not something Samantha, a yoga instructor with a modest income, would likely possess. Helena's phone rang, startling her so badly she nearly dropped the camera. Samantha's name flashed on the screen as if summoned by Helena's suspicious thoughts. For a moment, she considered letting it go to voicemail, but then answered, working to keep her voice steady. "Hey, Sam. I was just thinking about you." "Were you now?" Samantha's voice held its usual warmth. "That's what happens when you're cosmically connected to someone. Listen, I'm heading to that new cafe downtown for lunch. Want to join me?" Helena hesitated, rolling the small camera between her fingers. Perhaps confronting Samantha directly was the best approach. "Actually, that sounds perfect. I need to talk to you about something." "Sounds serious." Samantha's tone shifted slightly. "Everything okay with you and Robert?" The question seemed innocuous enough, but Helena's nerves were already on edge. Was there something knowing in Samantha's voice? "We'll talk at lunch," she said simply. "How about 12:30 at Café Laurent?" After hanging up, Helena placed the camera in a small plastic bag and tucked it into her purse. Then she turned her attention back to the plant. The roots were drying out. She needed to repot it quickly. As she transferred it to the new container, something else caught her eye. A small, folded piece of paper buried deeper in the soil. Her hands shook as she unfolded it, revealing a typed note. "The truth lies beneath the surface. Watch the bridge." Helena felt as though the floor had dropped out beneath her. The bridge, just like in her recurring dreams. This couldn't be coincidence. Someone was sending her a message. But who? And what truth were they referring to? She glanced at the clock. 10:15. 2 hours before meeting Samantha. Enough time to do some preliminary research. Sitting down at her laptop, Helena hesitated only briefly before typing JRX 486 license plate into the search engine. The results were disappointing. Nothing specific came up. She tried another search. Car accident bridge recent. This time, several news stories appeared. Helena scrolled through them until one caught her eye. Local tech executive presumed dead after car plunges into river. The article, dated 5 months ago, described how David Chen, CEO of a software security firm, had apparently lost control of his vehicle on the Westlake Bridge during heavy rain. The car had broken through the guardrail and plunged into the river below. Despite extensive search efforts, Chen's body had never been recovered, though he was presumed dead based on the accident's severity and witness accounts. Helena felt a chill as she read further. David Chen had been the founder of Secure Tech Solutions, a company that specialized in cybersecurity for financial institutions. Among their clients was Global Financial Partners, Robert's employer. The article mentioned that Chen had been on his way to an important meeting when the accident occurred. Was this the connection? Helena tried to remember if Robert had ever mentioned David Chen. Her husband rarely discussed his clients, citing confidentiality, but the name sounded vaguely familiar. She checked the time again. Still an hour before she needed to leave for lunch with Samantha. Impulsively, Helena picked up her phone and called Robert's office, something she rarely did. His executive assistant, Brenda, answered on the second ring. "Mr. Morgan's office." "Hi, Brenda. It's Helena." "Oh, Helena, hello." There was a note of surprise in Brenda's voice. "Robert's in Tokyo this week. Did you need to reach him urgently? I can have him call you during their dinner break." "Actually, I was hoping you could help me with something. I'm trying to remember. Did Robert ever work with someone named David Chen from SecureTech?" The silence that followed was brief but noticeable. "Yes, I believe they had some dealings. Is this about the memorial service? I thought that was postponed indefinitely since they never found— The memorial service? Helena interrupted, her heart racing. For David Chen, Brenda clarified, sounding confused. After the accident, Robert attended the private gathering for executives. It was quite small, just close colleagues. Helena gripped the phone tighter. Robert had never mentioned attending any memorial service. Of course, she said smoothly, not wanting to alert Brenda to anything unusual. I just found an old note and was trying to place the name. Thank you for your help. After ending the call, Helena sat motionless, her mind racing. Robert had concealed his connection to David Chen. He'd attended a memorial service without mentioning it to her. And now, 5 months later, Helena was having recurring dreams about a car drowning in a river and had found a hidden camera with a cryptic note about the truth and the bridge in her apartment. The doorbell rang, startling her from her thoughts. The security panel showed Marco Alvarez, the building's maintenance supervisor, standing in the hallway. Helena hesitated, suddenly wary of everyone, before pressing the intercom button. Yes? Sorry to bother you, Mrs. Morgan. We're checking all the units on this floor for a water pressure issue. Would be quick, 5 minutes tops. Helena glanced at the time. She needed to leave soon to meet Samantha, but 5 minutes wouldn't make her late. Come in, she said, buzzing him through. Marco entered with his usual friendly smile, toolbox in hand. He'd been working in their building for at least a year, a quiet, efficient man in his early 50s who kept mostly to himself. Beautiful flowers, he commented, nodding toward the newly repotted plant. They were, Helena replied, watching him closely. Until I found they were hiding something. Marco's expression didn't change as he moved toward the kitchen sink. Hiding something? Helena made a split-second decision. Marco, have you ever noticed anyone unusual hanging around our apartment? When we're not here, I mean. He turned to face her, his dark eyes unreadable. Like who, Mrs. Morgan? I don't know. Anyone who shouldn't be here. She was being vague, testing waters. Marco seemed to consider her question carefully. I see many people come and go in this building. Some belong, some don't. He paused, then added quietly, Not everything is as it appears, yes? Before Helena could respond, her phone chimed with a text message. It was from Tyler. Don't drink the coffee. Helena stared at the cryptic warning, her confusion mounting. Tyler? She murmured, quickly typing back. What are you talking about? The response came immediately. I can't explain now. Just don't drink any coffee today. Anywhere. Trust me, Mom. Helena looked up to find Marco watching her intently. Is everything okay, Mrs. Morgan? I'm not sure, she admitted. Marco, do you believe in dreams? Dreams that might be trying to tell you something important? A strange expression crossed his face. In my country, we have a saying. Dreams are letters from the soul that many are too busy to read. He closed his toolbox without having done any apparent work. Your water pressure seems fine. Perhaps the problem is on another floor. As he moved toward the door, he paused. Be careful, Mrs. Morgan. Sometimes the danger is not where we expect it. Before Helena could ask what he meant, he was gone, leaving her alone with her mounting questions and a growing sense of dread. Helena checked the time and realized she needed to leave immediately to meet Samantha. As she gathered her purse, her gaze fell on the repotted yellow flowers. What other secrets might be hiding in plain sight in her carefully constructed life? And more importantly, who had placed that camera in her home? And why? With the tiny camera secure in her purse and Tyler's warning echoing in her mind, Helena left the apartment, unaware that her world was about to shatter in ways she could never have imagined. Just like the car in her dreams, plunging through the surface into dark, unknown depths below. The Café Laurent buzzed with lunchtime activity. As Helena stepped inside, her senses immediately assaulted by the aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods. Under normal circumstances, she would have ordered her usual latte, But Tyler's strange warning lingered in her mind. Don't drink the coffee. Soot? What could possibly be wrong with coffee? Still, Helena had learned through years of therapeutic practice to trust intuition, both her own and others. She'd order tea instead. Samantha was already seated at a corner table, her bohemian chic appearance standing out among the business-casual crowd. As always, her friend wore layers of flowing fabric in earthy tones, her wrists adorned with handcrafted bracelets that clinked softly when she waved Helena over. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Samantha said, as Helena took the seat opposite her. "What's going on?" Helena considered how to approach the subject. Direct confrontation had never been her style, but these weren't normal circumstances. She reached into her purse and placed the plastic bag containing the miniature camera on the table between them. "I found this hidden in the yellow flowers you brought me," she said, keeping her voice low. "I need to know why, Sam." "Why would you put a camera in my home?" Samantha's face registered genuine shock. She reached for the bag, but stopped short of touching it. "Helena, I swear on everything I hold sacred, I did not put that there. I would never invade your privacy like that." Helena studied her friend's expression, drawing on her professional experience reading micro-expressions. Samantha appeared sincerely horrified. Either she was telling the truth, or she was an exceptional actress. "The flowers came from that new specialty shop in Brookfield," Samantha continued, her voice trembling slightly. "I picked them because they reminded me of the water lilies in that painting you love, the Monet. I had no idea there was that thing in there. There was also this." Helena produced the folded note. "The truth lies beneath the surface. Watch the bridge. Does that mean anything to you?" Samantha's face paled as she read it. "No, but, Helena, this is serious. Someone is trying to communicate with you secretly, and they used me to do it." She pushed her untouched coffee away. "What bridge? What truth?" Helena hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "I've been having these dreams for months now. Always the same. A car going off a bridge, sinking into dark water. I can see the license plate perfectly. JRX 486. She paused. "This morning I looked it up. 5 months ago, a man named David Chen drove off the Westlake Bridge. His body was never recovered." "David Chen," Samantha repeated slowly. "Why does that name sound familiar?" "He was the CEO of SecureTech Solutions. They do cybersecurity for Robert's company." The waitress approached their table, and both women fell silent. "Ready to order, ladies?" she asked cheerfully. "Chamomile tea for me," Helena said quickly. "Make that too," Samantha added, pushing her coffee further away. "And we're not quite ready for food yet." When the waitress departed, Samantha leaned forward. "Helena, I need to tell you something. Last month, I saw Robert having lunch with a woman. It was at Meridian, that expensive restaurant downtown. They seemed intimate." Helena felt a strange numbness spread through her chest. She'd suspected Robert might be unfaithful. Their emotional distance had been growing for years, but hearing it confirmed still stung. Yet somehow, amid all the other strange occurrences, this revelation felt almost secondary. "Did you recognize her?" Helena asked, surprising herself with how steady her voice remained. "No. Young, blonde, very polished-looking, corporate type." Samantha reached across the table to grasp Helena's hand. "I'm so sorry, Helena. I should have told you immediately, but I wasn't sure what I was seeing, and I didn't want to hurt you unnecessarily." "It's not your fault," Helena said automatically, "and honestly, right now, that's the least of my concerns. Someone is watching my home, Sam. Someone who knows about these dreams I've been having, dreams that apparently connect to a real accident involving someone from Robert's work." The waitress returned with their teas, interrupting their conversation again. As she set the cups down, Helena's phone buzzed with a text. Tyler again. "Did you drink anything at the cafe?" Helena quickly typed back. "No, just ordered tea but haven't touched it." "Tyler, what is going on?" His response came immediately. "Don't drink the tea either." I'll explain everything after school. Don't go home. Meet me at Uncle Jack's at 4. Uncle Jack was Robert's older brother, a retired history professor who lived in a modest house across town. Helena and Tyler hadn't visited him in months. Why would Tyler want to meet there? Helena? What's wrong? Samantha's voice pulled her back to the present. It's Tyler. He's warning me not to drink anything here. Helena pushed her tea away. He wants me to meet him at his uncle's house later. Samantha's expression grew even more concerned. Helena, you need to call the police. And tell them what? That I found a camera in a plant? That my son is sending cryptic texts? That my husband might be having an affair? None of that is criminal. What about the note mentioning the bridge? And your dreams about a man who died in an accident connected to Robert's company? There's too much happening for this to be coincidence. Helena hesitated. I need to understand more first. If I go to the police now, they'll think I'm paranoid or attention-seeking. Samantha nodded reluctantly. What can I do to help? The flower shop where you bought the plant. Can you take me there? I want to find out if someone tampered with it before you purchased it. 20 minutes later, they stood inside Greenleaf Exotics, a small but elegant boutique nursery tucked between a bookstore and a vintage clothing shop. The owner, a slender man with silver-streaked hair and dirt-stained hands, looked up from an orchid he was tending as they entered. Welcome back, he said to Samantha with a smile of recognition. How are those yellow water lilies doing? That's actually why we're here, Samantha replied. My friend has some questions about them. Helena stepped forward, deciding on a direct approach. I found something unusual hidden in the plant. A camera. I'm trying to figure out how it got there. The owner's smile vanished. A camera? In one of my plants? He seemed genuinely disturbed. That's impossible. I personally care for every plant in this shop. Could someone have accessed them when you weren't looking? Helena pressed. Or maybe before they arrived at your shop? He shook his head firmly. I grow most of these myself, including those water lilies. They never left my sight until your friend purchased them. He paused, his expression thoughtful. Although what? Helena prompted. The day before your friend came in, a man was very interested in those specific flowers, asked a lot of questions about them, their care requirements, who might purchase such plants. His brow furrowed. I didn't think much of it then. Assumed he was a botany enthusiast, but he was quite insistent on knowing who might buy them. Can you describe this man? Samantha asked. Average height, dark hair with some gray. Hispanic, maybe? In his 50s, I'd guess. Very polite, soft-spoken. Helena felt her pulse quicken. The description matched Marco, their building's maintenance supervisor. The same Marco who had appeared at her door that morning, performed no actual maintenance, and left after offering cryptic warnings about danger coming from unexpected places. Did he leave a name? Helena asked, trying to keep her voice casual. No name, paid cash for a small cactus, and left. The owner looked troubled. Should I contact the police about this? Not yet, Helena said quickly. It might be nothing, but thank you for the information. Outside the shop, Helena shared her suspicion with Samantha. It sounds like Marco, the maintenance guy from my building. He came to my apartment this morning under the pretense of checking water pressure, but didn't actually do anything. Then he said something strange about danger not coming from where we expect it. Samantha's eyes widened. Helena, this is getting seriously creepy. First the camera, then the note about the bridge. Now this guy who might be stalking you through plants? You need protection. I need answers, Helena corrected her. And I think they're connected to David Chen's accident somehow. She checked the time. 1:30. Still hours before she was supposed to meet Tyler at Uncle Jack's. I'm going to the Westlake Bridge. Not alone, you're not, Samantha declared. I'm coming with you. The Westlake Bridge spanned a deep section of the river that cut through the heart of the city. As they parked nearby, Helena noticed her hands were shaking slightly. The bridge from her dreams. She'd avoided driving across it for months, taking longer routes without consciously acknowledging why. What exactly are we looking for? Samantha asked, as they walked toward the pedestrian path that ran alongside the roadway. "I don't know," Helena admitted. "Something that might explain why I keep dreaming about this place." They walked to the center of the bridge, stopping to look out over the water. The river below was dark and swift-moving, swollen from recent rains. Helena tried to imagine a car breaking through the guardrail, plunging into those depths. The mental image was too close to her recurring nightmare. She closed her eyes, feeling suddenly dizzy. "Helena, look," Samantha said urgently, pointing to a small memorial that had been placed against the railing. Flowers, now withered, surrounding a framed photograph of a smiling Asian man in his late 30s. David Chen. Helena knelt to examine the memorial. Beneath the photograph was a small plaque, "In memory of David Chen, whose brilliance and integrity will never be forgotten. Justice will come." "Justice will come," Helena repeated softly. "Not rest in peace or gone too soon. Justice will come." "Someone doesn't believe his death was an accident," Samantha said, voicing Helena's thoughts. As they stood contemplating the memorial, Helena noticed a woman watching them from the opposite side of the bridge. She was young, perhaps 30, with straight blonde hair and a tailored business suit. When she realized Helena had spotted her, she began walking deliberately in their direction. "That's her," Samantha whispered. "The woman I saw with Robert." Helena felt a surge of conflicting emotions, anger, curiosity, fear, but forced herself to remain outwardly calm as the woman approached. Up close, she was strikingly beautiful in a severe way, with sharp cheekbones and cool blue eyes. "Dr. Morgan?" the woman asked, her voice clipped and professional. "I'm Veronica Winters. I worked with David Chen." "How do you know who I am?" Helena asked. "I know a lot about you." Veronica glanced at Samantha, then back to Helena. "And your husband. I've been trying to find a way to contact you safely. Was it you who put the camera in the plant?" Veronica shook her head. "No, but I know who did. And why?" She looked around nervously. "We shouldn't talk here. It's too exposed." He handed Helena a business card. "Meet me at this address at 3 o'clock. Come alone." Before Helena could respond, Veronica turned and walked briskly away. Helena looked down at the card. It bore only a name, V. Winters, and an address in the warehouse district. "You can't seriously be considering meeting her," Samantha said incredulously. "Helena, this is getting dangerous. This woman was with your husband, and now she shows up exactly where we are? How did she even know we'd be here?" Helena had no good answer. The coincidence was too perfect to be random. Either Veronica had been following them, or she had somehow known Helena would come to the bridge after finding the camera and note. "I have to go," Helena said finally. "Whatever's happening, it involves Robert, David Chen's death, and now this woman. I need to know the truth." "Then I'm coming with you," Samantha insisted. Helena shook her head. "She said to come alone. Besides, I need you to do something else for me." She hesitated, then made a decision. "Go to my apartment. Look for anything unusual, anything that might have been hidden like that camera was. And Samantha, be careful. Don't touch any food or drinks there." Samantha looked torn but eventually nodded. "Promise me you'll call the police if anything feels wrong at this meeting." "I promise," Helena said, though she wasn't entirely sure she meant it. Something told her that whatever she was about to discover went beyond what local police could, or would, address. As they walked back to Samantha's car, Helena's phone rang. The screen showed Robert Mobile, her husband, calling from Tokyo. Or was he? Helena suddenly realized she had only Robert's word that he was in Japan. With mounting suspicion, she answered the call. "Hello, Robert?" "Helena." His voice sounded strained. "Is everything all right there?" "Everything's fine," she lied smoothly. "Why do you ask?" "No reason. Just checking in." A pause. "Is Tyler home from school yet?" "It's only 1:45, Robert. He won't be home for hours." Helena kept her tone casual. "How's Tokyo?" "Busy. Meetings all day." Another pause. "Listen, Helena, if anyone contacts you about work stuff, any of my colleagues or business associates, don't engage, okay? There have been some security concerns lately. Corporate espionage type things. Helena's grip tightened on the phone. What kind of security concerns? Nothing for you to worry about. Just forward any calls to my office. His voice shifted to a warmer tone. I miss you, by the way. The sentiment, rare from Robert these days, caught Helena off guard. Was it genuine, or was he trying to manipulate her? I miss you too, she replied automatically. After ending the call, Helena stood motionless, processing the conversation. Robert had never mentioned security concerns before, and his call had come immediately after her encounter with Veronica Winters, a woman who had been seen with Robert and who claimed to have worked with David Chen. The timing couldn't be coincidental. What did he want? Samantha asked. To warn me not to talk to any of his business associates, Helena replied grimly. He said there were security concerns. Samantha's expression darkened. Helena, please reconsider meeting this woman. At least let me come with you. No, I need to do this, and I need you to check my apartment. Helena checked the time. I'll drop you off on my way to the warehouse district. As they drove, Helena's mind raced. Tyler's warnings about not drinking anything. The camera hidden in the plant. The note about the bridge. Marco's cryptic comments. The memorial to David Chen with its unusual message about justice. Veronica Winters appearing precisely when Helena visited the bridge. And now Robert's suspiciously timed call warning her against speaking to his associates. None of it made sense individually, but together, the pieces were forming a disturbing pattern, one that suggested Robert might be involved in something far more sinister than a simple affair. As Helena dropped Samantha off at her apartment building, she caught sight of Marco watching them from near the service entrance. Their eyes met briefly before he turned and disappeared inside. Helena's phone chimed with another text from Tyler. Where are you? Don't go home. I'm not home, she typed back. Meeting someone who might have answers. Then I'll meet you at Uncle Jack's as planned. His response was immediate and alarming. No, don't meet anyone. It's not safe. Dad knows you found something. Helena stared at the message in shock. How could Tyler possibly know about the camera or her planned meeting with Veronica? And what did he mean about Robert knowing? With growing unease, Helena drove toward the warehouse district, questions multiplying with each passing minute. What had Robert really been involved in? What had happened to David Chen? And most troublingly, was her own son somehow caught in the middle of whatever dangerous truth lay beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life? The warehouse district stood in stark contrast to Helena's usual world of upscale apartments and sleek office buildings. Here, the streets were lined with aging industrial structures, many repurposed into artists' lofts or storage facilities. The address on Veronica's card led to a renovated brick building with Parkside Studios stenciled on the frosted glass door. Helena sat in her car, Tyler's warning text still glowing on her phone screen. Every instinct told her to drive away, to pick up her son and flee to somewhere safe until she could make sense of everything. Yet, some deeper part of her, perhaps the professional psychologist who had spent years helping patients confront their fears, insisted that running would only postpone the inevitable. Whatever was happening involved her family directly. She needed to understand it. The dashboard clock read 2:55. She had 5 minutes to decide. Helena closed her eyes, trying to center herself. The recurring dream flashed through her mind again. The silver car plunging into dark waters. But this time, a new detail emerged. A face in the driver's window, mouth open in a silent scream as water rushed in. David Chen's face, just as it had appeared in the memorial photograph. Helena's eyes snapped open. Her dreams hadn't been random anxiety manifestations. They were trying to tell her something specific about Chen's death, something she had sensed subconsciously but couldn't fully access. As a sleep specialist, Helena knew that dreams often processed information the conscious mind overlooked. With newfound resolve, she exited her car and approached the building. A directory in the lobby listed V. Winters Photography on the third floor. No elevator, just a narrow stairwell with worn wooden steps that creaked under Helena's careful tread. The third-floor hallway was surprisingly well lit, with framed black and white photographs lining the walls, urban landscapes capturing the gritty beauty of abandoned places. Helena followed the numbers until she reached 307. The frosted glass door bore the same V. Winters Photography logo that had been in the lobby. Helena knocked twice. No response. She tried the handle. Unlocked. The door swung open to reveal a spacious studio with high windows that bathed the room in natural light. One wall displayed more photographs, these in color, showing bridges from various angles. Helena recognized the Westlake Bridge among them. "Hello?" she called out. "Veronica?" Silence answered her. Helena moved further into the studio, unease growing with each step. A desk in the corner held a laptop, still open, screen glowing. Beside it lay a stack of photographs. Helena approached cautiously and looked down at the top image. It was her, standing at her kitchen counter, looking down at the yellow flowers. The photo had been taken that very morning, through what must have been the camera hidden in the plant. Helena flipped to the next photo, herself and Samantha at Café Laurent. The next, Helena and Samantha at the Westlake Bridge. Someone had been following her all day, documenting her movements. Helena's heart raced as she continued through the stack. The final photograph made her blood freeze. Robert, in a restaurant that was definitely not in Tokyo, seated across from a man whose face Helena recognized immediately from the memorial. David Chen. The date stamp on the photo read, "Yesterday." David Chen was alive, and her husband had met with him just yesterday. A noise from behind caused Helena to spin around. Veronica Winters stood in the doorway, her expression grim. "I see you found the photos," she said, closing the door behind her. "Now you understand why I needed to speak with you privately." "David Chen isn't dead," Helena stated, her voice steadier than she felt. "No, his accident was staged." Veronica moved to the desk and picked up the photograph of Robert and Chen. "Your husband helped arrange it." "That's impossible," Helena protested automatically. "Robert was devastated when Chen died. He attended the memorial service." Veronica's laugh was brittle. "Of course he did. Appearances are everything to Robert Morgan." She gestured to the photographs on the wall. "I'm not actually a photographer. I'm FBI, Cyber Crimes Division. We've been investigating your husband and Global Financial for nearly a year." Helena sank into a nearby chair, struggling to process this new information. "You're saying my husband is involved in criminal activity?" "Money laundering, primarily. David Chen discovered it. A sophisticated scheme using financial security protocols that SecureTech had developed. When he threatened to expose it, certain parties at Global Financial decided he needed to disappear." Veronica's expression softened slightly. "I'm sorry, Helena. I know this must be overwhelming. Why come to me? Why the camera in my home? The cryptic note? That wasn't us," Veronica said, frowning. "The Bureau doesn't operate that way. We suspected someone else was also investigating, possibly Chen himself. He went rogue after his death, cut contact with his handlers. We've been trying to locate him." "His handlers?" Helena repeated. "Was David Chen working with the FBI too?" Veronica hesitated. "Not initially. After he discovered the money laundering scheme, he came to us. We were building a case when he received death threats. The accident was meant to give him protection while we gathered evidence." She paused. "But something went wrong. Chen disappeared for real, and we lost track of him until yesterday, when our surveillance team photographed him meeting with your husband." Helena's mind raced, connecting pieces of the puzzle. "There's a man in my building, the maintenance supervisor, Marco. I think he might be involved. He fits the description of someone who was asking about the plant at the flower shop before Samantha bought it." Veronica nodded thoughtfully. "We'll look into him. In the meantime, Helena, you need to be extremely careful. Your husband clearly suspects you've discovered something. That's why he called you, to gauge your knowledge and warn you off. My son, Helena suddenly remembered. Tyler sent me warnings today about not drinking coffee or tea, about not going home. How could he know about any of this? Children often sense more than adults realize, Veronica offered. Or perhaps he overheard something. She checked her watch. I have colleagues arriving shortly. We need your help, Helena. Your access to Robert's personal files, his home office, it could provide the evidence we need to build our case. Something felt wrong. Helena studied Veronica more carefully, noting details her initial shock had caused her to overlook. The woman's hands showed no signs of the calluses a photographer would have. Her posture was rigid, almost military. But most telling was the slight bulge at her hip, partially concealed by her blazer, a holstered weapon. You said the FBI didn't place the camera in my home, Helena said cautiously, but someone has been watching me, taking photos, following my movements today. If not the FBI, then who? Veronica's expression remained neutral. As I said, possibly Chen himself, or someone working with him. And the coincidence of you being at the bridge exactly when I was there? Not a coincidence. We've had surveillance on the memorial site. Helena stood slowly, maintaining a casual demeanor despite her mounting anxiety. I need some water. Is there a kitchen or break room I could use? Veronica gestured toward a door at the back of the studio. Through there, help yourself. The small kitchenette was sparse, a mini fridge, microwave, and sink. Helena filled a glass with water, using the moment alone to think. Veronica's story had holes. If she truly was FBI, why meet Helena in this isolated studio rather than a field office? Why no credentials, no partner, no official documentation of their meeting? And then there was the photograph of Robert with Chen from yesterday. It struck Helena as odd that an FBI surveillance team would have captured just one image of such an important meeting. No approach shots, no departure photos, just one perfect frame showing both faces clearly. Helena took out her phone and quickly texted Tyler. At Parkside Studios 307. Woman claims to be FBI. Something feels wrong. If I don't contact you by 3:30, call police. She deleted the message immediately after sending it, then returned to the main studio, water glass in hand. Veronica was on her phone, speaking quietly. She ended the call when she saw Helena. My colleagues will be here shortly, Veronica announced. We should discuss what happens next. We'll need you to sign some paperwork, confidentiality agreements mostly. Of course, Helena agreed pleasantly. Before they arrive, could you clarify something for me? You mentioned earlier that you've been investigating Robert for a year, but also that David Chen only recently discovered the money laundering scheme. That timeline seems inconsistent. A flicker of something. Annoyance? Concern? Crossed Veronica's face before her professional mask returned. The investigation began with other executives at Global Financial. Your husband's involvement became apparent later. Helena nodded as if satisfied, though the explanation only deepened her suspicions. She glanced at the wall clock. 3:20. 10 minutes until her self-imposed deadline for contacting Tyler. What exactly do you need from me? Helena asked, buying time. You mentioned Robert's personal files? Access to his home office, for starters. Computer passwords. Financial records he might keep at home. Phone records. Veronica moved toward a cabinet and removed a folder. If you could start by filling out these forms. Helena accepted the folder but didn't open it. I'm sorry, but I'd like to see some identification first. FBI credentials. Veronica's smile remained fixed, but her eyes hardened. Of course. They're in my bag. She moved to retrieve a sleek leather briefcase from beside the desk. Instead of credentials, she withdrew a small handgun, which she placed on the desk, not pointing it at Helena, but making its presence unmistakable. That won't be necessary, Veronica said smoothly. I think we understand each other perfectly well without formalities. Helena's mouth went dry. You're not FBI. No. But everything else I told you about your husband is true. He is involved in money laundering. He did help fake David Chen's death." Veronica picked up the gun casually. "The only difference is which side I'm working for." "You work for the people who threatened Chen," Helena realized aloud. "The ones Robert is laundering money for." Veronica inclined her head slightly. "Smart woman. No wonder your husband speaks so highly of you." She checked her watch. "My associates will be here very soon. They're quite interested in having a conversation with you about your recent activities." Helena forced herself to remain outwardly calm while her mind worked furiously. The door to the hallway was too far. Veronica would easily intercept her. The kitchenette offered no escape. The windows were 3 stories up. "Why involve me at all?" Helena asked, trying to keep Veronica talking while she looked for options. "I knew nothing about any of this until today. That changed when you found the camera." Veronica's tone was almost conversational. "Someone is trying to build a case against your husband, and by extension, our organization. We need to know who and what evidence they have. You've been in contact with them, whether you realize it or not." Helena thought of Marco, his cryptic warnings, his possible connection to the camera. "The maintenance supervisor," she said, stalling. "You think he planted the camera? But why warn me through a note? Why not just monitor me secretly? People's motivations can be complex." Veronica glanced toward the door. "Ah, I believe my colleagues have arrived." Heavy footsteps sounded in the hallway. Helena knew her window of opportunity was closing. In a desperate move, she hurled her water glass at Veronica's face and lunged for the desk, grabbing the stack of photographs before bolting toward the kitchenette. Veronica recovered quickly, but not before Helena had slammed and locked the kitchenette door. It wouldn't hold for long. The lock was flimsy, but it might buy precious seconds. The kitchenette window opened onto a fire escape. Helena forced it open and clambered out just as the door behind her splintered. Cold metal stairs rattled beneath her feet as she descended as quickly as she dared, the photographs clutched tightly in one hand. Shouts echoed from above. A gunshot rang out, the bullet pinging off the metal railing inches from Helena's head. She ducked and continued downward, adrenaline overriding her fear of heights. When she reached the bottom, she sprinted toward her car. More shouting behind her. Another shot, wide this time. Helena reached her car, fumbled with the keys, and finally got the door open. The engine roared to life, and she peeled away from the curb, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, she saw 3 figures emerge from the building, Veronica and 2 men in dark suits. They weren't pursuing on foot, which meant they likely had a vehicle nearby. Helena took the first turn she saw, then another, trying to lose any potential tail while calling Tyler. He answered on the first ring. "Mom, are you okay?" "I'm fine, but in trouble. Someone just shot at me." Elena's voice shook despite her efforts to stay calm. "Tyler, how did you know about the coffee? About not going home?" "It wasn't me, Mom." Tyler's voice dropped to a whisper. "I didn't send those texts. Someone has my phone. I'm using Uncle Jack's landline right now." Helena felt the blood drain from her face. "If you didn't send those texts, who did?" "I don't know, but they've been watching our apartment. Uncle Jack spotted someone in a car outside his house earlier. He thinks they're watching him too." "Tyler, listen carefully. I'm coming to get you right now. Be ready to leave immediately. We can't stay in the city." Helena checked her mirrors constantly, looking for signs of pursuit. "Mom, there's something else you need to know," Tyler said urgently. "About Dad. I found something in his office safe last month, documents with SecureTech letterhead. They mentioned something called Operation Drowning Man." Helena nearly missed a stop sign at the intersection. Operation Drowning Man? The connection to her dreams was too specific to be coincidental. "Yeah, I didn't understand most of it. Lots of technical stuff about security protocols and offshore accounts. But there was a name that kept coming up. David Chen. Did you tell your father you found these documents?" "No. I put everything back exactly how I found it. But, Mom, I think he knows I saw something. He's been asking weird questions, checking my browsing history. Last week, he took my laptop for a system upgrade and returned it a day later. Helena's mind raced. If Robert suspected Tyler had discovered incriminating evidence, that would explain the strange texts. Someone impersonating Tyler to manipulate her, to find out what she knew. "Where's the safe?" Helena asked. "I need to see those documents." "In his office, behind the Warhol print. The combination is your birthday." Helena made a quick decision. Change of plan. "I'm going to our apartment first to get those documents, then coming for you. Stay with Uncle Jack. Don't answer the door for anyone." "Mom, no! It's not safe there." "I'll be careful. I need evidence of what Robert's involved in. Without it, we're just running scared." Helena took a series of turns, confident now that no one was following her. "I'll be at Jack's within the hour. Be ready to leave." After ending the call, Helena drove toward home, her mind working through scenarios. If Robert was involved in money laundering for some criminal organization, and if David Chen had threatened to expose it, the stakes were potentially life-threatening. The fact that someone had fired actual shots at her confirmed the danger was real. But there were still missing pieces. Who had planted the camera in the plant? Who had sent the warning note about the bridge? And why were her dreams so specifically connected to David Chen's staged drowning? As Helena approached her apartment building, she scanned the street carefully before parking. The building seemed quiet, normal. The doorman nodded pleasantly as she entered the lobby. Nothing appeared out of place. "Has anyone been asking for me today, Edward?" she asked casually. "No, Mrs. Morgan. Just the usual. Your friend left about 20 minutes ago, though." "My friend?" "Yes, the lady who often visits. Long brown hair, colorful clothes. She said you'd asked her to check on something in your apartment." "Samantha?" Helena had almost forgotten she'd asked her friend to search the apartment. "Did she say anything when she left?" Edward furrowed his brow. "She seemed in a hurry. Mentioned something about meeting you elsewhere." He paused. "Oh, and Mr. Alvarez was looking for you earlier. Said there was a follow-up about the water pressure check." "Marco again." Helena forced a smile. "If you see him, please let him know I'll call maintenance tomorrow." The elevator ride to her floor felt interminable. Helena's nerves were frayed, every sound making her start. When the doors finally opened, she moved cautiously down the hallway toward her apartment. The door was slightly ajar. Helena froze. She had definitely locked it when she left that morning. Samantha had a key, but Edward had said she'd already left. Helena considered retreating, calling the police, but the need for those documents from Robert's safe propelled her forward. Silently, she pushed the door open wider and stepped into the entryway. No lights were on, but afternoon sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the living room. Nothing seemed disturbed. The silence was complete, almost oppressive. "Samantha?" Helena called softly. No response. She moved quietly toward Robert's office at the back of the apartment, straining to detect any sound that might indicate someone else's presence. The office door stood open, the room beyond dark. Helena reached for the light switch. Before her hand found it, something cold and hard pressed against the back of her neck. "Don't move," a man's voice instructed quietly. "And don't scream." Helena froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. The voice wasn't Robert's. It wasn't anyone she recognized. "Please," she whispered. "I have a son." "I know," the voice replied. "Tyler Morgan, 16 years old, currently at his uncle's house in Oak Ridge Heights. He's safe for now, which is more than I can say for you if you don't cooperate." The pressure against her neck eased slightly as a hand reached around to turn on the office light. Helena blinked in the sudden brightness, then gasped as her captor moved into view. It was David Chen. "David Chen!" Helena breathed, recognition and confusion mingling as she stared at the man before her. In person, he appeared more haggard than his memorial photograph, his face thinner, dark circles under his eyes, his once immaculate hair now longer and disheveled. "Dr. Morgan." Chen lowered the object he'd pressed against her neck. Not a gun, as she'd feared, but a small flashlight. "I apologize for frightening you, but I needed to ensure you weren't followed here." Helena took an instinctive step backward. "You're supposed to be dead." "Yes, that was the idea." Chen moved to the window, peering through the blinds before turning back to her. "Your friend left about 20 minutes ago. She found something. Took photographs with her phone before she left." "Samantha? What did she find?" Helena's mind raced, trying to process this new development while maintaining enough composure to navigate the situation. Chen gestured toward Robert's desk. "A second camera, hidden in the desk lamp. Your husband has been monitoring his own home office." Helena felt sick. How deep did the deception go? "Are you the one who put the camera in my plant? Who left the note about the bridge?" "The camera. Yes. The note, no." Chen's expression was unreadable. "Someone else is involved. Someone I haven't identified yet. Marco Alvarez? My building's maintenance supervisor?" Chen's eyes narrowed. "You've met him? Tall man, Hispanic, early 50s? Helena nodded. "He came to my apartment this morning, claiming to check water pressure. He seemed aware of things he shouldn't know. Alvarez is not who he claims to be. Neither am I." Chen sighed heavily. "And neither, I suspect, is your husband." Helena thought of the gun Veronica had pulled on her, of the shots fired as she escaped. "Someone just tried to kill me at Parkside Studios. A woman named Veronica Winters. She claimed to be FBI at first, then admitted she works for the people Robert is laundering money for." "Veronica." Chen's face darkened. "She's dangerous, an enforcer for the organization. The fact that she's involved means they're escalating." He checked his watch. "We don't have much time. Your husband will have been alerted by now that you've discovered something. His people will be watching this building. My son is at his uncle's house. I need to get to him. Tyler is safer where he is for the moment. First, we need evidence." Chen moved to the Warhol print hanging on the wall and carefully removed it, revealing a small wall safe. "Do you know the combination?" Helena hesitated, uncertainty gnawing at her. Could she trust Chen? The man had faked his own death, planted surveillance equipment in her home, yet her instincts told her he wasn't allied with Veronica, or whoever had shot at her. "My birthday," she said finally. "Month, day, year." Chen entered the digits, and the safe door swung open. Inside lay several file folders, a passport, and a small external hard drive. He removed everything, quickly rifling through the contents. "These are decoys," he muttered, frustration evident. "Banking statements, tax documents, nothing incriminating." "There must be something," Helena insisted, remembering Tyler's words. "My son mentioned documents about Operation Drowning Man on SecureTech letterhead." Chen's head snapped up. "Tyler saw those documents? When?" "Last month. He said Robert may suspect he found something." Chen cursed under his breath. "If those documents were here, Robert has moved them. He knows we're getting close. He pocketed the external drive anyway. This might still contain traces of deleted files." A soft sound from elsewhere in the apartment froze them both. Helena's eyes widened in alarm, but Chen held a finger to his lips, then pointed to the hallway. Someone else was in the apartment. Chen silently moved to the office door, clicking off the light before easing it almost shut, leaving just enough space to peer through. Helena crouched behind the desk, her heart thundering in her ears. Through the narrow opening, she could see a sliver of the living room, now cast in the golden hue of late afternoon light. A shadow moved across that sliver, someone walking quietly through the apartment. Then a familiar voice called out softly, "Helena, are you here?" "Samantha." Helena nearly called back, but stopped when Chen shook his head vehemently. He scribbled something on a piece of paper and handed it to her. "Could be compromised. Stay silent." The footsteps continued, moving closer to the office. "Helena?" Samantha called again. "It's just me. I found something important." Chen tensed, reaching into his jacket. Helena feared he might have a weapon, might hurt her friend based on his suspicions. Making a split-second decision, she stood up. "I'm in here, Sam," she called, ignoring Chen's look of alarm. In the office, the door pushed open and Samantha appeared, her expression shifting from relief to shock as she registered Chen's presence. "Oh my God," she breathed. "You're David Chen, the man from the bridge memorial." "Close the door," Chen ordered sharply. Samantha complied, her eyes never leaving his face. "You're alive. Does Helena know what's going on?" "Parts of it," Helena answered. "Someone just tried to kill me, Sam. A woman named Veronica Winters." Samantha's face paled. "Blonde? Expensive suit? Cold eyes? You know her?" "I just saw her. Downstairs, parked across the street. She has 2 men with her. They're watching the building." Samantha turned to Chen. "Who is she? What does she want?" "She works for a criminal organization that uses financial institutions to launder money," Chen explained tersely. "The same organization that Robert Morgan has been helping. When I discovered their operation and threatened to expose it, they tried to kill me. The car accident was staged to give me time to gather evidence." "The camera in the plant," Samantha said slowly. "That was you?" "I needed to monitor Helena, to see if Robert had involved her in any way. I didn't expect her to find it so quickly." A ghost of a smile touched Chen's lips. "Most people don't repot gift plants." "This organization," Helena interjected, "what exactly are they laundering money for?" "They call themselves the Foundation. On paper, a legitimate international investment group. In reality, they finance everything from arms dealing to human trafficking." Chen's voice hardened. "They've infiltrated financial institutions across the country, including global financial partners, where your husband works." Helena shook her head in disbelief. "Robert is... he can be distant, workaholic, even insensitive at times, but a criminal? I can't believe he'd knowingly support human trafficking." "People compartmentalize," Chen said simply. "They tell themselves they're just moving numbers around, that they're not responsible for what happens elsewhere. The money becomes too good to walk away from, and by the time they understand what they're really involved in, they're already compromised." Samantha, who had been peering through the blinds, suddenly tensed. A black SUV just pulled up, 4 men getting out. Chen moved quickly, gathering the files. "We need to leave, now. Is there a service exit?" "The freight elevator at the end of the hall," Helena said. "But we'd have to get past the lobby." "Not if we go up instead of down." Chen was already moving toward the door. "Roof access?" "Yes, but let's go. Bring only what you absolutely need." Helena grabbed her purse, which contained her phone, wallet, and the photographs she'd taken from Veronica's studio. As they slipped into the hallway, she heard the main elevator's distinctive ping. Someone was coming up. They moved swiftly in the opposite direction, toward the emergency stairs. Chen pushed the door open cautiously, listened for a moment, then motioned them through. Instead of heading down, he led them upward, taking the stairs 2 at a time. "I still don't understand my dreams," Helena said, as they climbed. "Why have I been dreaming about your car accident for months? I didn't even know you existed until today." "Your husband talks in his sleep," Chen replied without turning. "I discovered it during surveillance. He's been having nightmares about my drowning. Likely guilt manifestations. You've probably been hearing fragments while you sleep, and your subconscious constructed the dreams." They reached the roof access door. Chen tried the handle. Locked. Without hesitation, he removed a small tool from his pocket and worked at the lock for several seconds until it clicked open. The rooftop was flat and expansive, dotted with ventilation equipment and the occasional satellite dish. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the gravel surface. Chen led them to the edge, peering over at the adjacent building. "The service building is connected by the fire escape," he observed. "We can cross to it, then take their stairs down to the back alley." Helena stared at the metal walkway spanning the gap between buildings. It wasn't designed as a bridge, merely a maintenance access point for workers servicing the building's external systems. The drop to the street below was at least 12 stories. "We can't cross that," she protested. "It's not meant to hold people." It will hold, Chen assured her. I've used it before. Before Helena could question when or why he had used this particular rooftop escape route, the roof access door behind them burst open. Two men in dark suits emerged, weapons drawn. Down! Chen shouted, shoving both women behind a large ventilation unit as bullets pinged off the metal surface. David Chen! One of the men called out. You're only making this worse. The woman doesn't have to die too. Chen pulled Helena closer to whisper in her ear. When I create a distraction, you and Samantha run for that walkway. Cross it and get to the service stairs on the other side. I'll meet you at the bottom. What distraction? Helena demanded. They have guns. In answer, Chen reached into his pocket and withdrew a small cylindrical object. Flash grenade, he explained. Military grade. Cover your eyes when I throw it. Helena had no time to question where a supposedly civilian tech CEO had acquired military weaponry. Chen counted down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. Then hurled the device toward their pursuers. Eyes! He shouted. Helena buried her face against Samantha's shoulder as a deafening bang echoed across the rooftop, followed by cries of pain and confusion. Chen grabbed her arm, pulling her up. Now! Run! They sprinted across the gravel toward the edge of the building. The narrow metal walkway looked even more precarious up close, just a maintenance path with a single handrail. Go! Chen urged, positioning himself to cover their retreat. I'll hold them off. Samantha went first, crossing quickly despite the height. Helena followed, her knuckles white on the railing as she edged across the gap. The city sprawled beneath her feet, a dizzying vista through the metal grating. Don't look down, she told herself. Just keep moving. A gunshot rang out behind her. Helena turned to see Chen ducking behind an air conditioning unit as the two men advanced, recovered from the flash grenade. She froze momentarily, torn between continuing to safety and concern for Chen. Go! He shouted again, waving her forward. Helena completed the crossing, joining Samantha on the neighboring rooftop. They watched as Chen engaged in a brief firefight with the pursuers, somehow producing a handgun of his own. One of the men fell, clutching his leg. The other retreated behind cover. Taking advantage of the momentary respite, Chen ran for the walkway. He was halfway across when the second gunman reappeared, taking aim. Helena cried out a warning, but it came too late. A bullet struck Chen in the shoulder, spinning him sideways. He nearly lost his balance but managed to grab the railing with his good arm. Samantha and Helena reached out, seizing his jacket and pulling him to safety, just as more bullets ricocheted off the metal walkway. Chen grimaced in pain, blood soaking through his shirt. Downstairs, he gasped. Keep moving. They descended the service building's stairs as quickly as they could, Chen leaning heavily on Helena. By the time they reached the ground floor and exited into the alley behind the building, his face had gone gray with pain and blood loss. We need to get you to a hospital, Helena insisted. No hospitals. Chen shook his head firmly. They'll check gunshot wounds. They're watching emergency rooms. Then where? You need medical attention. Chen fumbled in his pocket, retrieving a set of car keys. 3 blocks south, black sedan, east side of Thornton Street. License plate NXP 294. First aid kit in the trunk. As they half-carried, half-walked Chen through back alleys, avoiding main streets, Helena's mind raced. What had started as a disturbing discovery in a potted plant had escalated into gunfire, rooftop escapes, and a growing certainty that her husband was involved in something far darker than she could have imagined. Tyler, she remembered suddenly. I need to call him. Let him know we're okay. Not from your phone, Chen warned. They'll be tracking it by now. Use mine. He directed them to an inner pocket of his jacket, where Helena found a slim, unmarked smartphone. She dialed Uncle Jack's landline from memory. It rang several times before Tyler's voice answered, tense with worry. Hello? Tyler, it's Mom. I'm using a different phone. Are you and Uncle Jack still safe? Mom, where are you? What's happening? Relief and fear mingled in her son's voice. I can't explain everything now. Are you being watched? Has anyone approached the house? No, It's quiet. Uncle Jack has his shotgun ready, just in case. He said no one gets past the front porch. See, despite everything, Helena smiled slightly at the image of her mild-mannered history professor brother-in-law armed with a shotgun. Stay there. I'm with friends. We'll come for you as soon as we can. Mom, before you go, I remembered something else about those documents I saw. There was a name besides Chen's, someone called the consultant. Dad had several meetings scheduled with them. Chen, who was listening despite his injury, stiffened noticeably. Ask him if he saw a location for those meetings, he whispered urgently. Did the documents mention where these meetings took place? Helena relayed. Yeah, somewhere called Harborview. That's all I remember. Thanks, honey. Stay safe. We'll be there soon. Helena ended the call and turned to Chen. What's Harborview? A private marina on the North Shore, Chen replied grimly. Owned by the Foundation. It's where they meet high-value assets, and where they dispose of problems. They had reached Thornton Street. The black sedan was exactly where Chen had described, innocuous enough to blend with other parked vehicles. Samantha helped Chen into the back seat, while Helena retrieved the first aid kit from the trunk. I need to get to my son, Helena said, as she cleaned and bandaged Chen's wound as best she could. The bullet had gone through his shoulder, painful and debilitating, but not immediately life-threatening if they could stop the bleeding. We'll get Tyler, Chen assured her through gritted teeth. But we need to be smart about it. If they know about my connection to you, they'll be watching your brother-in-law's house too. So what's the plan? Samantha asked, sliding into the driver's seat. Where are we going? First, somewhere safe to regroup. Chen directed them to an address across town. A safe house only I know about. Then we figure out how to extract Tyler without exposing him to danger. As Samantha navigated through evening traffic, taking an indirect route to avoid potential tails, Helena examined the photographs she'd taken from Veronica's studio. The image of Robert meeting with Chen troubled her deeply, not just because it proved Robert had lied about being in Tokyo, but because of what it implied, that the two men were somehow working together, despite Chen's apparent opposition to the Foundation's activities. Why were you meeting with my husband yesterday? She asked directly, holding up the photograph. This doesn't make sense if you're working against him. Chen looked at the photo and sighed. It's complicated. Robert reached out to me through an intermediary. He wanted to make a deal. What kind of deal? Information exchange. He claimed he wanted out, that the Foundation had taken things too far. He offered internal documents in exchange for immunity when everything comes to light. Chen's expression hardened. I didn't believe him. Robert Morgan has been deeply embedded with the Foundation for years. This sudden attack of conscience seemed too convenient. So, you think it was a trap? Helena asked. Almost certainly. But I needed to know what he knows, particularly about the consultant. Who is this consultant? Tyler mentioned the name from the documents. Chen's gaze was distant, troubled. The architect of the entire operation. Someone with connections in government, finance, and law enforcement who's been coordinating the Foundation's activities for at least a decade. No one knows their real identity, not even high-level operatives like Veronica. The pieces were falling into place in Helena's mind. The elaborate deception, the dangerous stakes, the mysterious figures moving in shadows around her family. If Robert is as involved as you say, she said slowly, then everything about our life together has been a lie. Our marriage, our home, was any of it real? Chen's expression softened slightly. People compartmentalize, he repeated. Your husband might have genuinely loved you while still participating in criminal activities. Humans are complicated that way. As they drove toward the promised safe house, Helena stared out the window at the darkening city, at the ordinary people going about their evening routines, blissfully unaware of the shadow world that had just swallowed her whole. She thought about the recurring dream that had plagued her for months, the drowning car, the desperate struggle beneath dark waters. Now she understood it wasn't just her subconscious processing fragments of Robert's sleep-talking. It was something deeper. An intuition that her own life was slowly sinking, that she had been drowning for years without realizing it, trapped in a marriage built on deception. The sedan turned onto a quiet residential street lined with modest bungalows, a stark contrast to the luxury high-rise Helena called home. Samantha parked in the driveway of a gray house with drawn curtains and an overgrown lawn that suggested vacancy. "We'll be safe here for a few hours," Chen said, wincing as he shifted to exit the car. "Then we moved to get Tyler." As Helena helped him toward the door, her phone vibrated in her purse. Against her better judgment, she checked it. A text message from Robert. "I know what you've done. You can still fix this. Meet me at Harborview, slip 7:09 p.m. Come alone if you want Tyler to remain safe." Her blood turned to ice. "They have Tyler," she whispered, showing the message to Chen and Samantha. "Robert has my son." "They don't have Tyler," Chen stated firmly, examining the message on Helena's phone. "It's a bluff to lure you out. If they had him, they'd send proof." Helena wanted desperately to believe him, but the fear gripping her heart made rational thought nearly impossible. "I need to be sure. I need to call Uncle Jack's house again." "Use my phone," Chen insisted, handing her the unmarked device. "And put yours in airplane mode immediately. They're tracking it." Helena followed his instructions, then dialed Jack's number with shaking fingers. Each ring amplified her terror, until finally, a gruff voice answered. "Morgan residence." "Jack, it's Helena. Is Tyler still there? Is he safe?" "Helena. Thank God." Jack's voice dropped to a whisper. "Tyler's here, but something's wrong. 2 men in suits parked across the street about 15 minutes ago. They haven't approached yet, but they're watching the house. I've got Tyler in the basement. What the hell is going on?" Relief flooded through Helena. Tyler wasn't in Robert's hands. Not yet. "Jack, listen carefully. Those men are dangerous. They work for Robert. Don't let them in under any circumstances." "Robert?" Confusion and anger mingled in Jack's voice. "What has my brother done?" "There's no time to explain. Do you still have that old hunting cabin in the mountains? The one with no address?" "Yes, it's still in the family." "Why?" "Take Tyler there. Leave immediately through the back door across the fields. Don't use your car. They'll be watching it." "Helena, please, Jack, I'm begging you." "I'll explain everything later, but right now you need to get Tyler somewhere. They can't find him." A long pause, then Jack's voice returned, resolute. "Okay, we'll go now. But Helena, be careful. If Robert's involved in something dangerous..." "I know, I will. Call this number when you reach the cabin." After ending the call, Helena turned to Chen and Samantha. "They're at the house, but Tyler's still safe for now. Jack's taking him to a remote cabin." Chen nodded approvingly. "Good. That gives us time?" He examined the text from Robert again. "This is actually an opportunity. Harborview is where we might find the evidence we need. The consultant often meets high-level operatives there." "You want to use me as bait?" Helena asked incredulously. "Not exactly." Chen struggled to sit up straighter, grimacing as the movement pulled at his injured shoulder. "We go together. We set our own trap." "How?" "You're injured, and they'll have armed men everywhere. I have resources they don't know about." Chen gestured toward a laptop bag in the corner. "Samantha, would you bring that here?" Samantha retrieved the bag. Chen extracted a laptop and opened it, typing one-handed despite his injury. "Before my drowning, I installed backdoors in SecureTech's systems. I can access security cameras, electronic locks, even some communications channels the Foundation thinks are secure." The laptop screen filled with windows, surveillance feeds, document scans, communication logs. Chen navigated through them with practiced efficiency until he found what he was looking for. Harborview Marina, current security configuration. The screen displayed a detailed layout of a private marina with 7 slips for luxury yachts. The Foundation uses it for meetings too sensitive for their official locations. Robert's message mentions Slip 7. That's the consultant's personal yacht, the Cassandra. Helena peered at the screen. "So, the consultant will be there tonight?" Possibly. Or Robert might be using the yacht because it's secure. Chen continued typing. What matters is that it's where they store physical documentation too sensitive for digital systems. If we can access it, we might find what we need to bring down the entire operation, including proof of Robert's involvement. But they're expecting me to come alone, Helena pointed out. You will appear to be alone, Chen corrected. But Samantha and I will have already infiltrated the marina. I can override their security systems temporarily, create blind spots in their surveillance. Samantha, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. David, you can barely stand. How exactly are you planning to infiltrate anything? I don't need to be physically capable to control their systems. Chen tapped the laptop. And I have one more asset they don't know about. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Marco, it's time. Harborview Marina. Slip 7:9 p.m. Bring the package. Helena's eyes widened. Marco Alvarez? He works for you? Chen nodded as he ended the call. Former Special Forces, now one of my security consultants. When I discovered the Foundation's operation, I placed him in your building to monitor Robert's activities and ensure your safety. The camera in the plant, Helena realized. You planted it, but Marco left the note about the bridge. Yes, he was supposed to be more subtle, but Marco has his own way of doing things. He recognized you were in danger before I did. Chen closed the laptop. Now, we need to prepare. Helena, you'll need to convince them you came alone and that you're willing to cooperate to protect Tyler. What will you be doing? Accessing their secure files while they're focused on you? The Cassandra has a hidden safe room where the consultant keeps physical evidence, blackmail material, incriminating documents, contingency plans. If we can secure those, we can expose the entire operation. And if we're caught? Helena asked quietly. Chen's expression was grim. Then we hope Marco's package provides enough leverage for negotiation. The next 3 hours passed in tense preparation. Chen's condition improved slightly with rest and proper bandaging. He walked Helena through every detail of the plan, showing her layouts of the marina and the yacht, explaining escape routes and contingencies. Samantha, despite having no training in covert operations, proved remarkably calm and quick to understand her role. At 8:30, they left the safe house in separate vehicles. Helena in Chen's black sedan, Samantha driving a nondescript van with Chen hidden in the back, surrounded by electronic equipment. As Helena navigated toward the marina, the city lights reflected on the water like stars fallen to earth. Beautiful, yet cold and distant, like her marriage had been, perhaps. Harborview Marina was exclusive, catering to the ultra-wealthy. A security gate blocked the entrance, manned by a guard who examined approaching vehicles with practiced scrutiny. Helena pulled up, heart pounding. ID, please, the guard requested mechanically. I don't have membership credentials, Helena replied, following Chen's coaching. I'm here to see Robert Morgan. He's expecting me at slip 7. The guard checked a tablet. Helena Morgan? When she nodded, he stepped back. You're cleared. Follow the main dock to the end, then turn left. The gate slid open silently. Helena drove through, noting the security cameras mounted at regular intervals along the path. Were they already under Chen's control, creating the blind spots he had promised? Or were unseen eyes tracking her every movement? She parked in the designated area and walked toward the dock, the cool night air carrying the scent of salt water and expensive boat fuel. Luxury yachts bobbed gently in their slips, gleaming white against the dark water. At the end of the dock, just as the guard had directed, a particularly impressive vessel bore the name Cassandra in elegant script across its bow. Robert stood on the deck, silhouetted against the subtle lighting. When he saw Helena, he gestured for her to come aboard. She hesitated only momentarily before climbing the gangway. "Thank you for coming," Robert said when she reached the deck. His voice was formal, devoid of the warmth that had once characterized their relationship. "Follow me." He led her into the yacht's main cabin, a luxuriously appointed space with leather seating, polished wood finishes, and ambient lighting that would have seemed romantic under different circumstances. A bar occupied one wall, crystal decanters catching the light. "Would you like a drink?" Robert offered, as if this were a normal social occasion. "Where's Tyler?" Helena demanded, ignoring the offer. Robert's expression revealed nothing. "Safe, for now. Whether he remains that way depends entirely on your cooperation." "You're bluffing," Helena challenged, drawing strength from Chen's earlier assessment. "You don't have him." A flicker of something, surprise, perhaps annoyance, crossed Robert's face before his mask of control returned. "You've been busy today, finding the camera, meeting with Chen. Did he tell you his version of events? Paint me as the villain in this story? He showed me evidence of what you're involved in. Money laundering for criminals, human trafficking, murder." Robert poured himself a drink, his movements deliberate. "Business is rarely black and white, Helena. Sometimes difficult choices must be made for greater stability." "Stability?" Helena couldn't keep the disgust from her voice. "You're helping criminals destroy lives. I'm helping maintain a system that prevents chaos." Robert sipped his scotch. "The Foundation provides structure in a world that would otherwise collapse into anarchy. Yes, some of their methods are extreme, but the alternative is worse." "You actually believe that?" Helena stared at her husband, this stranger wearing familiar features. "Or is that just how you justify the money they pay you?" Robert's composure slipped slightly. "You have no idea the pressures involved, the expectations. When I started at Global Financial, I was already compromised before I understood what was happening. By the time I realized the full scope, there was no way out." "There's always a way out," Helena insisted. "You could have gone to the authorities." A harsh laugh escaped Robert. "The authorities? The Foundation has people throughout law enforcement, intelligence agencies, even judicial systems. Going to the authorities would have been suicide." He set down his glass. "But that's not why you're here. You want to know what happens next." "Yes, what happens next? You have a choice." Robert's voice softened slightly. "Chen believes he can bring down the Foundation with whatever evidence he thinks exists. He can't. Even if he exposed this operation, there are contingencies, replacements, alternative channels. The Foundation would continue." "What's your point?" "My point is that you and Tyler could still have a life, a good one. The Foundation is willing to relocate us. New identities, substantial financial support. Somewhere overseas, perhaps. A fresh start." Helena couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You want me to run away with you? After everything you've done?" "I want our family to survive," Robert replied sharply. "The alternative is unthinkable." As they spoke, Helena was acutely aware of the time passing. Minutes Chen and Marco needed to execute their parts of the plan. She needed to keep Robert talking. "This consultant," she said. "The person behind everything. Who are they?" Robert tensed visibly. "That's not information you need. If you want me to trust you, to even consider your offer, I need to understand what we're dealing with. Who this person is that has so much power over you." Robert seemed to debate internally before responding. "The consultant is a myth as much as a person, a carefully cultivated identity. Someone who created a system so intricately balanced that it's become essential to global finance. Someone who can make nations rise or fall with a few strategic adjustments. And they're here tonight? On this yacht?" Robert's eyes narrowed. "Why do you ask that?" "Because I need to know who I'm running from if I accept your offer," Helena improvised. "I need to know what kind of power they truly have." Before Robert could respond, the yacht's lights flickered momentarily. A subtle signal from Chen. He had accessed the yacht's systems. Phase 1 complete. "Power fluctuations," Robert muttered, glancing at the overhead lights. "Happens sometimes when—" He was interrupted by the sound of footsteps on the deck outside. The cabin door opened to reveal Veronica Winters, her cold eyes immediately focusing on Helena. "You didn't tell me she was already here," Veronica said to Robert, her tone accusatory. The consultant is arriving in 10 minutes. She shouldn't be on board yet. Plans changed, Robert replied smoothly. Helena came early. I was just explaining her options. Veronica looked unconvinced, but didn't argue further. Fine, but keep her in here until after the meeting. She turned to leave, then paused. And Robert? No more improvising. Too much has gone wrong already. After she departed, Robert turned back to Helena, his expression tense. Time is running out. I need your answer. Will you and Tyler come with me? Helena met his gaze steadily. You still haven't told me who the consultant is. Because it doesn't matter, Robert hissed, his composure cracking. What matters is surviving. I'm offering you and Tyler a way out. At what cost? Helena challenged. Living in fear? Looking over our shoulders forever? What kind of life is that for Tyler? Robert's face hardened. Better than the alternative. A soft chime sounded from a panel near the door, an alert that someone had boarded the yacht. Robert straightened his jacket. Stay here. Don't leave this cabin. With that warning, he exited, locking the door behind him. Helena immediately moved to the window, peering out at the dock. A tall figure in an expensive suit was walking toward the yacht, flanked by 2 security personnel. Though she couldn't see the person's face clearly, something in their bearing suggested absolute authority. The consultant had arrived. She checked her watch. 9:12. Chen should be accessing the secure areas of the yacht by now, while Robert and the others were distracted by the consultant's arrival. Helena searched the cabin for anything that might help. Documents, a computer, even a weapon if things went wrong. A small desk in the corner caught her attention. Locked, but perhaps not secure against someone determined. She removed a hairpin and worked at the lock, grateful for the unusual skill Tyler had insisted on teaching her after watching too many spy movies. Everyone should know how to pick a lock, Mom, he had argued. What if you get kidnapped? The lock clicked open. Inside, she found several file folders labeled with project names. One stood out immediately. Operation Drowning Man. With trembling hands, Helena opened it, scanning the contents quickly. The documents detailed an elaborate scheme to fake David Chen's death when he had threatened to expose the Foundation's operations. But the most shocking revelation was that it hadn't been the Foundation who had arranged the fake drowning. It had been Chen himself, working with a government task force. He had used the accident to go undercover, to infiltrate the Foundation from within. Helena's mind raced. If Chen had been working with federal authorities all along, then his current operation must have official backing. The package Marco was bringing might be more than just leverage. It might be an entire tactical team. A noise at the door interrupted her thoughts. Someone was unlocking it. Helena quickly returned the folder to the drawer, but couldn't relock it before the door swung open. It wasn't Robert or Veronica who entered, but an elegant older woman with silver-streaked dark hair and piercing eyes. She wore an impeccably tailored suit and carried herself with unmistakable authority. Without introduction, Helena knew she was facing the consultant. "Dr. Morgan," the woman said, her voice cultured and controlled. "How interesting to finally meet you. Robert has told me so little about you over the years." Helena stood her ground, refusing to show fear. "I wish I could say the same, but apparently my husband has told me nothing about you at all." The consultant smiled thinly. A prudent decision on his part. She glanced at the unlocked desk drawer. "I see you've been exploring. Find anything illuminating?" "Enough to know that Chen is working with federal authorities," Helena replied, deciding that directness might be her best defense. "Enough to know that whatever happens tonight, the Foundation won't survive it." "Is that what you believe?" The consultant seemed almost amused. "That some mid-level bureaucrats with badges will dismantle what I've built over decades?" She moved to the bar, pouring herself a small drink. "Your naivety would be charming if it weren't so dangerous. Where's my husband?" "Preparing for departure. The situation has become compromised. Unfortunately, your presence complicates matters." The consultant sipped her drink. "Robert believes you and your son can be convinced to disappear with him. I find that assessment optimistic. A chill ran down Helena's spine. What does that mean? It means, Dr. Morgan, that loose ends rarely tie themselves up neatly. The consultant set down her glass. However, I'm not unreasonable. Your psychology background could be valuable to our organization. Your expertise in sleep and dreams, particularly pertinent given our methods of information extraction. You're offering me a job? Helena asked incredulously. I'm offering you survival, for yourself and your son. The consultant's gaze was penetrating. Consider it carefully. You receive such opportunities. Before Helena could respond, the yacht's lights flickered again, then went out completely. Emergency lighting activated seconds later, bathing the cabin in a red glow. An alarm began to sound throughout the vessel. "What is this?" the consultant demanded, her composure slipping for the first time. The cabin door burst open. Marco Alvarez stood there, gun drawn. "Helena, we need to move now." The consultant reached into her jacket, but Marco was faster. "Don't," he warned. "Hands where I can see them." Helena moved toward the door, but the consultant's voice stopped her. "You have no idea what you're doing. The people I represent, their reach is beyond your comprehension." "Maybe," Helena acknowledged, "but tonight, their reach ends here." He turned to Marco. "Where's Chen?" "Securing the evidence. The authorities are moving in now." As if to confirm his words, shouts and the sound of running feet could be heard from the dock. Flashing lights reflected on the water. Police boats approaching rapidly. "Go," Marco instructed. "Straight to the dock. Chen will meet you there." Helena hurried out, leaving the consultant under Marco's watchful eye. On deck, chaos had erupted. Security personnel were being subdued by tactical officers in FBI windbreakers. Veronica was already in handcuffs, being led down the gangway, and Robert, her husband of 20 years, father of her child, the man whose bed she had shared and whose life she thought she'd known, stood frozen at the yacht's railing, watching his world collapse around him. When he saw Helena emerge from the cabin, something like resignation crossed his face. "You were never going to come with me, were you?" he asked quietly as she approached. "No," Helena answered honestly. "I couldn't let Tyler grow up thinking that running from the truth was acceptable." Robert nodded slowly. "He's a good kid, better than I deserved." He looked out at the water, then back to Helena. "Was any of it real? Us?" The question caught her off guard. Not the question itself, but the genuine vulnerability behind it. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and danger he had brought into their lives, Robert still cared what she thought of their marriage. "Parts of it were real," Helena said finally, "but not enough to build a life on." A federal agent approached, interrupting the moment. "Robert Morgan, you're under arrest." As the agent recited Miranda rights, Robert maintained eye contact with Helena, his expression a complex mixture of regret, resignation, and something like respect. Helena made her way down to the dock, where Chen waited, his injured shoulder now properly bandaged. He looked exhausted, but triumphant. "We got it all," he told her. "Financial records, client lists, blackmail material, everything needed to dismantle the Foundation's entire operation. Your husband's cooperation could reduce his sentence, if he's willing." "So, what happens now?" Helena asked, watching as the consultant was led from the yacht in handcuffs, her regal bearing somehow intact despite her circumstances. "Now, we get you to Tyler," Chen replied. "A team is already heading to your brother-in-law's cabin to ensure their safety. After that, a new beginning, perhaps. For all of us," Samantha added, appearing beside them. "Though I'm thinking my next housewarming gift will be a lot less dramatic. Maybe just a bottle of wine." Despite everything, Helena found herself smiling. "I'd appreciate that." 6 months later, Helena stood on the balcony of her new apartment, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. The view wasn't as spectacular as from her former high-rise, but it was honest, unobstructed by the illusions and deceptions that had clouded her previous life. The trials were ongoing. the media frenzy having mostly subsided. Robert had ultimately cooperated, providing testimony that helped prosecutors unravel the Foundation's complex web of criminal activities. His sentence would still be substantial, but not the lifetime imprisonment he might otherwise have faced. Tyler had shown remarkable resilience throughout the ordeal. After the initial shock and anger toward his father, he had channeled his energy into advocacy work, starting a support group for teenagers whose parents were incarcerated. Helena couldn't have been prouder. A knock at the door interrupted her reflections. She opened it to find David Chen, looking healthier than she had ever seen him. His shoulder had healed completely, and the haunted look that had shadowed his eyes had diminished. "Ready?" he asked. "Almost." Helena retrieved her purse from the counter. "Tyler wants to stop for ice cream on the way to the movie. Apparently, action films require sugar consumption." Chen laughed, a sound that had become increasingly common in recent months. "Who am I to argue with a teenage expert on cinema viewing protocols?" As they walked to the elevator, Helena reflected on the unexpected turn her life had taken. The painful unraveling of her marriage had led to new beginnings she could never have anticipated. Her private practice was thriving, now specializing in helping people recover from deception trauma. Tyler was healing, and her relationship with Chen, still evolving, still tentative, but built on honesty and mutual respect, offered possibilities that her marriage to Robert never had. The recurring dreams of drowning had stopped the night of the marina raid. In their place, Helena occasionally dreamed of yellow flowers, not the poisoned, hidden camera variety, but fields of them, bright and open under clear skies. Her subconscious, it seemed, had finally found solid ground. "You know what today is?" Chen asked as they reached his car, where Tyler was already waiting, engrossed in his phone. Helena smiled. 6 months since Harborview, since everything changed. 6 months since you chose truth over comfort, Chen corrected gently. Not everyone would have made that choice. Tyler looked up from his phone. "Are you guys having another one of those meaningful adult conversations that's actually about how awesome I am?" Helena laughed, ruffling her son's hair despite his teenage protests. "Absolutely. Your awesomeness is our favorite topic." As they drove toward the theater, Helena gazed out at the city. The same streets and buildings she had known for years, now viewed through entirely new eyes. The drowning dreams had been warning her all along, not about Chen's fake accident, but about her own life, submerged in deception, struggling for air, fighting to break the surface. Now, breathing freely at last, Helena understood something profound. The truth, however painful, was never as destructive as the lies we tell ourselves to avoid it. In choosing to face reality, she hadn't just saved herself and Tyler from Robert's crumbling world, she had reclaimed the authentic life that deception had nearly stolen from her completely. And that authentic life, with its smaller apartment, its movie nights with Tyler, its slowly blossoming relationship with a man who valued truth above comfort, that life was worth every moment of the struggle it had taken to reach it. "Mom?" Tyler's voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Earth to Mom. What flavor ice cream are you getting?" Helena smiled at her son, at Chen, at the simple joy of the moment. "Something new," she decided. "I think it's time to try something completely new." If you enjoyed the story, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And drop a comment below. What city are you watching from? And if your heart tells you to, feel free to leave me a tip on Buy Me a Coffee. Just check the first pinned comment. Thanks for keeping me company and for the coffee, and I'll see you in the next story.